Okay, so as is the case when you're building forms with ceramics, especially multiple parts that you're going to then put together, the best time to put them together is when they are leather hard. That way the forms aren't all floppy, they kind of push back on you a little bit. When connecting two pieces of leather hard clay, you have to do this process called slip and score. So to slip and score, we need two leather hard pieces. So I'm going to pull out these two sphere pieces. Remember, we designed these so that one is a little bit bigger than the other, these two hemispheres. We did these by the pinch method. A good way also to tell this leather hard is, look, I can set it down and it doesn't make a flat dent on the bottom, but I can still manipulate it. I can still bend it, right? Now, if I try to stretch it too much, though, it's going to rip and it's going to tear, all right? So I have those two forms. Now, if they got beyond the leather hard, I could, as long as they weren't bone dry. Now, if they're bone dry, it's really hard to bring them back. But if they were a little bit beyond leather hard, I could cover them with a damp paper towel and wrap them back up in the plastic when covered with the damp paper towel, not wet, squeeze the moisture out. And then I could let them sit for a while and they might come back to leather hard. So basically, you have your little container here, you've got your brush. You're gonna put a decent amount of slip on both of these surfaces. Now remember, we don't want to work in direct sun. That will dry your pieces out too quickly. Won't give you a chance to work with them. Shade, outside, if you're working in the shade, that's even tough too. You kind of want to be outside of a draft under some sort of cover. All right, so a nice liberal coating of slip. And then look, I'm going to use this fork to come in here and really score this. Now, slip and score, when I say that, it is slip and score. It is slip first and score second. Now, if I were to put slip on this again because I wanted more, I would need to end on a score. The idea is that all these score marks kind of go into each other. So you notice I'm doing it in the same orientation, right? I'm scoring in the same direction, if you will. All right, and I am actually going to go with a quick another coat of slip, and then I'm going to do one more score all the way around to open it back up. If you end with the slip, then it doesn't really, it kind of defeats the purpose. So when I ask you on the test, when connecting two pieces of leather hard clay, you must blank and blank each piece before pushing it firmly together. You will say slip and score. If you say score and slip, it will be incorrect. Slip and score. Okay, so now you can see that the one is bigger than the other, right? And what I'm going to do, I'm going to push these together pretty firmly. All right, I'm kind of trapping air inside. And then I don't want to get them too wet with the slip, but basically you see I'm trying to pull that material from one down over the other. This is why I made one a little bit larger. All right, so it can kind of come down over the top of, right? It's about moving material over that seam. If you don't move material over that seam is going to be weak. I'm kind of using the back of my fingernail. You can even, if you've got a fork that's got a good kind of hook on the handle, that's even a good one to come across here like this. So that's basically what you want to do to kind of just get this thing, make sure it's together, is make sure that seam is really hidden. You don't want to work it this way. You want to work it perpendicular to the seam. See how I'm still dragging the clay from the one that was a little larger over the other? And so now it looks more like one piece. Not pretty, but it's all one piece. And the air is trapped inside, so I can kind of manipulate it further. So we'll come back to this to kind of talk about how to kind of finish this off. But for right now, that's what I have for you. Just getting these two hemispheres together. As is always the case, I will wrap this in plastic and put it up for when I'm ready to kind of clean the form up a little bit and make it look more like a sphere, and or if I choose to carve the outside of it.